Hi, I'm Betsy Barbieux, and this is CAM Matters. You'll want to join us today because we have a very special guest, Tara Stone from Stone Claims Group, and a lot of you in the industry will know her former company name, which is Your Private Adjuster, and we've got a lot of good information that could actually save you tens of millions of dollars on an insurance claim. So come join us as we talk with Tara.
Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Lynn with Betsy Barbieux, and we're so glad that you're here today. We have a very special guest, and I'm telling you, you're going to want to pay attention because this could cost millions, right? If you
they
don't,
can save millions,
right, yes,
or cost millions.
Right.
Either one.
Betsy, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest today?
We do. We have a fabulous guest today. We have Tara Stone. You will know her as Your Private Adjuster, but she's changing her name to Stone. I want to say Stone Cold. No. Stone Claims Group. So she is changing her name, but a lot of us in the industry already know her as Your Private Adjuster. So Tara, I am delighted to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here and just spend some time together.
Tara, I feel like we should offer you coffee or something like that, but we'll grab some after the show for sure. Absolutely. So, okay, right off the bat, I'm going to ask the low-hanging questions because I'm just like the voice of every person. What does an adjuster do?
Private adjuster.
Private adjuster, yes.
So there's three types of an adjuster. There's an independent adjuster, a company adjuster. Both of those adjusters work for the insurance company.
See, that's the part that just drives me nuts. Sorry.
I'm sorry. That's good.
I'm sorry.
What drives you nuts about it?
Because I thought they worked for me. I've paid an insurance premium for a gazillion years, and they don't work for me. I'm sorry. Go
just
right
like we thought that the board worked for us as homeowners,
well,
right?
that's
right,
wrong.
right. Okay.
I'm sorry. I just went way off
We
script
digress,
on that one. So please tell us what the other type of adjuster is.
Exactly. It's an adjuster that works for you.
See,
A
that's
public
what I like.
adjuster actually is started many years ago when insurance started. It's an adjuster for the people. So you can hire an adjuster that works for you, and you absolutely should.
Absolutely. It was news to me when I found out that my insurance company, who sends an adjuster to adjust my claim, does not work for me. That their goal is to get me as little as possible. And so when I found that out, and then I hear this phrase, private adjuster, because I'm thinking, why would I hire an adjuster when I already have one?
Right.
But that's why.
So, okay, let me just get this straight. So an adjuster is who comes with your insurance. You have to hire a private adjuster if you want someone who's working for you.
Right. And that's what Tara does.
Correct. Just like
That just doesn't seem right. I mean,
That's why I wanted her to come on to the show.
we're paying our fees to our insurance company that we assume. Now I see why you're upset. I'm upset too. Okay.
Yeah, it just isn't right. So I am so grateful for people like Tara. And I remember the first time I met her at one of our professional group meetings, I said, there really is such a thing. You really do exist. Because I thought it was kind of like a unicorn, because I'd never met one.
You can call me a unicorn. I'll take that any day.
And I said, I have actually finally met a real private adjuster. So again, I'm sorry, I'm delighted to have her. But tell us some more things about what you do and what you can do for community associations.
Absolutely. So a little bit about my background. I've worked in the industry for over 20 years, and I worked for the insurance companies for 15 of those. And during that time, I saw the industry change. And it's not that they're bad people or they're coming to actually pay you less. It's the way the system's established. I used to walk out with my Polaroid and dating and the checkbook and write the letters and look at the policy and make the decision from start to finish. What happens now is everything's centralized. So they send a field adjuster who's really a glorified photographer, and then they might send a quote-unquote engineer, but the engineers, it's amazing. All the reports say that it's just old and wear and tear and there's no damage. And then they have an inside adjuster, someone that's probably never been on a roof in their life or actually walked a fire claim or seen a flood, and they're making a decision with no connection to the policy holder or the loss. So when you're dealing with complex commercial claims, it's really important to have an advocate for you. And when you're dealing with specifically, I'd say 95% of what we do is condominium association work, and when you're dealing with a complex commercial claim, then you have 718 and 720 and
those are statute numbers that she's talking about.
Fiduciary responsibilities of the board, but then all of the politics of how to survive in the community association world, it becomes a very specialized trade, and that's what we've done. So we've helped hundreds of condominiums recover hundreds of millions of dollars.
Let's hear a great success story.
There's so many. But I tell them, people think I'm lying. I mean, just last Thursday, we settled a loss from Hurricane Irma. Took us 3 years.
3 years.
We don't give up. Don't call me a bulldog for
Don't
nothing.
mess with Stone Cold Claims Group.
That's right. The insurance adjuster drove around the complex after Irma and decided that there wasn't enough damage to go over their $700,000 deductible. And we settled the loss for $12 million, including all doors and windows and all roofs in the whole community. Now you can understand when you're fighting for millions of dollars, it's not like the insurance company turns that money over easily.
Yeah.
So one of the very different things we do is many times we will front the cost of experts for our boards and associations because they're worried. They're like, we don't want to risk money. Sometimes you have to spend money to get the money and prove their experts are wrong. But it's not like I just get that expert report and email it in and say, great, here's your $12 million check.
Right.
We had an association in Panama City right after Michael a couple years ago, and good insurance company, they came out, but they just sent the wrong people, and we were fighting back and forth, and we were only at $1.5 million, and finally I sent letters to all of the owners of the company, every VP, everyone. Then I was like, I'm dialing. I'm getting a little psychotic today. Get this crazy blonde. And got one of the vice presidents of claims and said, this was going to happen. We're going to end up in litigation, but if someone would just take the time to look. And I talked him into getting on a plane. We did a big hearing, and we ended up settling for over $7 million that day because they came out and saw what's right. So that's why having an advocate to understand how to push the pressure points.
And the language and how to push and know where to push and when.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
They go, oh no, here she comes.
Here she comes.
There's that blonde, that tall blonde. We're in trouble. All right, so you know what? We need to take a break, but I want to find out who pays for you and who pays for the private adjusters. We're going to take a break and we'll talk about that on the other side. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Man, that's unbelievable when you talk about how much money, you can save and how much can be lost, how much money you're leaving on the table without a private adjuster. Tara, we're talking to. We're also talking about the fact that you might have to put some money out. How does all that work as far as putting the money out?
I was going to say, in other words, what you're trying to say is who pays for you?
Who pays for all this, right?
How do you get paid?
So that's the number one question. That's what
I was trying to work around that,
I'm just going to go for it. How do you get paid?
I feel like I'm in a board meeting. The whole spiel, and they're like, all right, there's always the accountant. How do you get paid? And then the person's, how long is it going to take?
Right.
So I say, I'm going to give you the answers. They're coming. So we get paid on contingency, meaning no pay, you don't get paid, I don't get paid. So let me tell you, I do not work for free. So what happens is I will come out and do a free evaluation, my team, of the loss, and we'll give you an assessment and say, okay, this is really what we think is going to happen, this is what the claim is worth, this is what the value, and then we'll take it on a contingency basis. We charge somewhere between 10 and 20% depending on where they are in the difficulty of the loss. And then we represent them until fruition. You know out-of-pocket expenses on that time.
Okay, so that's where you're fronting the costs.
Yes, many of the times. We have to, I put my money where my mouth is, and most public adjusting firms do not have the capital or the scale or the confidence to do that. So that's really where we stand out.
Okay. So if I heard you, you do an evaluation, and you're not going to take a case that you're not sure you can win.
I just had a
That's
property
what I'm thinking
manager.
that she just said, that she does an evaluation. And
I don't want to take a case I can't win, but I think more importantly, we know how difficult it is to get and maintain good insurance for condominiums, especially in this market. So I've seen associations file a claim because a roofer comes knocking on their door and say, hey, you have hail damage, you need to file a claim, or you have wind damage. And what happens, the insurance company comes out and they say, oh yeah, you don't have wind damage, you don't have hail damage, but your roof looks old, so here's a letter that you have to replace them all on your own dime, and if you don't, we're canceling you. So then it becomes a really big problem, right? So we don't want to just throw things against the wall and see what sticks. We want to make sure that we're efficient and deliberate about what we're going out, and we're really truly fighting for fairness. We don't want things that aren't damaged, just what they owe, no more, no less, but every dollar that they owe under the policy.
I think that's just awesome.
It's really confusing to me. I mean, board members, CAM members, I mean, how do they know whether they just go with, the insurance adjuster that's being handed to them, or how do they educate? What do they need to know?
I think the question kind of along that line is there a point at when do you know to call a public adjuster? Private adjuster.
That's a great question, and I have to say the sooner the better.
But what kind of claim?
And any kind of commercial claim. We will come out for free and do it. I have so many condos that they just have a small water leak, and they're like, oh, we're just going to call it in to handle it. And then I'm like, well, if it came out, I would have told you this is $8,000, your deductible's $5,000. A small loss like this, you should not be claiming. That shows on your loss runs. You want to wait. Or they think it's a small $6,000. I had a loss over at the beach with a fire. They're like, oh, we don't need you. It's just the pool pump. It was lightning. We know that's all it is. Well, I went out there and looked and traced it. It ended up being a $75,000 loss because there was all these things, and there was burn marks going behind the gutters, things that they would not have seen. So we come out and do a free investigation and let you know, should you file it, what the value of the claim. And I think more importantly, they've spent millions of dollars saying you're in good hands and they're the good neighbors, and we can all say the taglines, right?
Kumbaya! We're your insurance people.
We are not against your agents. We are not even really against the insurance company. We're just there to be an advocate for you to make sure you're paid what you deserve.
Loss runs. I'm not sure that people understand what that is or the significance of it.
What does that even mean?
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, thank you.
So just give us an idea of a loss run.
So when you go to, when I say you, we're talking about association, they go for a renewal. Every 3 years we know they need to do the appraisal. Right. But when they go for the renewal, their agent of record is brokering between all these different surplus lines and carriers to try to negotiate the best deal. Part of that negotiation, it's your credit score for associations.
How many claims have you had?
How many claims
is a loss run?
And if you have an $8,000 claim, especially multiple claims, even though they've paid very little, it shows that the property is a high risk. It says that, hey, there's water leaks, there's constant problems,
constant
vandalism. Oh, don't have vandalism. That's bad.
Okay.
Because then it shows crime in the area. When you have a storm, it says, okay, well, Florida has hurricanes. We know that. It doesn't say that the actual property has a risk. So if you have a claim that's especially water or vandalism, you would want to think twice about filing that and make sure it's substantial before you do.
Wow.
Okay.
So if you could sit in a room with every single board and CAM member and educate them in just 2 minutes of what they need to know, what would you say? No pressure, Tara.
Well, Betsy has a whole school, so I don't know if I can do that in 2 minutes.
Well, as far as
Tara's
private, as far as private adjusting,
I think
what would
Tara's
you say?
like me. She can't answer anything without
You know what?
a long answer. But
To be aware.
what
To know.
anything?
I would say
This is your commercial. This is your
number
good
one
hands
thing
commercial.
as a board member. You do not need to do everything and know everything. And I know you want to say, well, let's just wait and see what the insurance company gives us. The problem is you go so far down the road and it's difficult to re-steer the ship. When we're involved from the beginning, we can get the claim moving in the right direction and it's smooth sailing. So that's the number one. Number two, it's a volunteer-free position. And the CAM is busy being a CAM. Don't try to make the CAM be your general contractor, your attorney, or your public adjuster.
No.
So when you have a commercial property, and whenever there's a loss, no matter how big or how small, you should always be reaching out to an advocate on your behalf. It's if you saw the difference, I mean, my numbers are hundreds of millions of dollars of difference. And it makes sense because we're talking if they don't pay any roofs on 20 buildings and then they pay all the roofs on 20 buildings, of course, that's a $2 million difference. So it's they're scaled, but they're scaled because we're dealing with communities. And the second and last thing is I'm going to find so much damage that you and possibly your contractor doesn't even see. We have 20 years of experience, insurance eyes. We're looking through it through insurance glasses, not a restoration, not as an owner.
Okay. And I'm also thinking that there shouldn't be a delay because, for lack of a better word, evidence gets repaired or evidence disappears, or I'm thinking there shouldn't be a delay. Boards should not wait.
Don't clean up the crime
Don't
scene.
yeah,
Tell the police.
It's kind of like evidence. Don't clean stuff up. Even if after your insurance adjuster has looked at it, don't clean it up until somebody else looks at it, because
That's
those
why-
burn things,
exactly.
those burn things back behind the gutters and stuff like that. First of all, they wouldn't have found it.
Never.
But then if you do, don't clean it up.
Or they'll go and pressure wash, and like a lot of the times I can find evidence that something has moved or been the pressure
Shifted or
pulled
something.
because dust or lack of dust. But I have the cleanest association in the world in Naples, and they're out there pressure washing. The inside, I don't understand how people have time to paint. All they do is repaint. I'm like, what do you mean you repainted the hurricane? Oh yeah, we've repainted 3 times. And this is like 80% of the units. I'm like, you people all need to go get jobs again.
Right.
You're painting too much. I'm trying to prove that stuff has moved and cracking, and they're like, oh, we painted over it.
Painted over it. So again, for lack of a better word, don't mess with the evidence until a second set
Just
of
let us
eyes
look, and
looks
then
at
we
just-
will do
yeah,
a very quick action plan to get you back in shape. Once you hire us and once we get the evidence, you can full
fresh
steam ahead. We're
paint
not
if
going
you
to stop you from painting. Just let me look at it.
But so second opinion, boards are always so hyper about got to get another quote, got to get another bid, have to have 3, which we know the Florida statutes do not require you to have 3. Why on earth in this situation would you not get a second opinion from a different adjuster?
Makes total sense. What a great
Why
show.
would you not get a second opinion?
Thank you. I mean, seriously, so much.
Thanks so much for having me. It was
Going
a lot of fun.
from not knowing what a private adjuster was to, I need one, and I live in a house, so, like,
You're like,
this
I
is
need
just
that
great.
Stone
I
Cold
know,
killer.
that's it.
Cold
That's it.
Claims Group. No, Stone Claims Group. But
All right.
I'm going to put the word cold in there.
Information on how we can get a hold of you.
StoneClaims.com. The phone number is 1-800-892-1116. 1-800-892-1116, and StoneClaims.com.
And of course, Betsy, all things CAM. She's the queen of CAM.
FloridaCamSchools.com, 352-326-8365.
And thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.